everyone, it's Tyler Esselman, co-host of maybe your favorite music podcast. This one goes to 11 with Michael Osinski and Tyler Esselman. It's my favorite music podcast. Welcome back. If you're looking for Michael, he's not here this week. Okay, he already did his own personal retrospective on our first 100 episodes. So now it is my turn to do a little reflection. We don't mean to belabor this 100 episodes point, but I mean, listen, we're very proud of what we've done. It's a thing. It's a thing we've spent a lot of time doing over the last few years, and so we're just going to relish it for a little while longer before we get on to our to your regularly scheduled programming of us welcoming all of our fascinating guests on to talk about music and the music that they love. But yeah, it's this thing is still, Michael mentioned it in his retrospective, but we're still getting used to it. This video element to this project that we have. It's been said before, but being perceived, it's weird. It's a strange thing. And that push and pull between wanting to kind of share yourself and do something that is public and put it out in the world in hopes of connection and generating conversation and learning more about yourself and others. That instinct, coupled with the instinct of just saying like, yeah, it's good. You don't need to see me all the time. That it's a worthy conversation to be had, and I continue to think about it all the time, considering the things that I'm interested in doing. So, in any case, I just wanted to put that out there. What am I going to do this week? Well, if you watched Michael's episode, which I hope you did, it was really good, and kind of shared a really beautiful, I wouldn't say a summary, but like a rumination almost, or a meditation on what the hell this thing is that we do from his perspective, and the moments that he felt were important to him, and kind of what role this plays in his life. I'm going to do a similar sort of reflection, and that'll include some clips from some of my favorite episodes. That'll include some thoughts that I've been having about what comes next and what I feel like I'm taking from this process. And then from there we'll maybe talk a little bit about what I've been listening to lately and make some recommendations, which I always love doing, right? I love to talk shit about the stuff that I love. So we'll probably do a little bit of that too. I think it'll be fun. Right now, I'm in my my new apartment here in St. Louis. I recently, those of you in the know might know that I recently moved back to St. Louis, Missouri. I was living in Los Angeles for many years and made the big decision to come back here. So I'm not going to tell you what the address is so that you can't come find me. But if you know me, then I'll be happy to meet up for coffee nearby. This is where I'm still settling in to my new place, living with a dear friend who I imagine we'll have on the podcast sometime very soon. But to kind of talk about one of the technical aspects of this, it's always been sort of I've recorded this episode in all sorts of different places, and really all it takes is this guy and this guy, the laptop and the mic and the headphones. Have those, will travel, if you know what I mean. So it's been really cool to do this. One of the things I say to people when I tell them I do a podcast is that I'm like, overall, it's pretty cheap. I mean, there are some expenses to doing it, but overall, the overhead is relatively low, and low enough that Michael and I always say that we'll just keep doing this as long as it's fun, or until that expense level just becomes prohibitive, But yeah, I think I really I wanted to share that, is that I really appreciate that about the act of podcasting. Do we need another podcast again? Listen, I'll say it again. We don't need another podcast. We don't need this podcast. It's not the point. I'm not saying that we need this podcast. I'm saying that it's a worthy thing for us to do, because it helps me feel like I'm building community. And so selfishly, I feel like my circle has grown because of this project, and I feel like I've learned a ton. I feel like I've sort of begun to think about things in different ways, not even just music, but art in general and the work that we do. And, it informs my political sensibility in ways that are very subtle but I think meaningful. So I just wanted to shout that out, is that I think one of the things that I'm most appreciating about this endeavor that Michael and I have been on is that it is an easy way for us to experiment with the way that we use language, the way that we communicate with people, and to do it in a way that is, we can, most of the time we are remote, but it's simple, it's direct, and I really appreciate that about it. And I would recommend it to anybody who, I'm always like, do a podcast. Start doing a podcast. Why not? If you have an idea, just do it. That to me is when all the dangers of the internet are very real. But that is a gift of the internet, is it makes this stuff easy to share, and it makes it democratic. So, but on that token, why don't I introduce a clip for you, which is from, I've mentioned how this episode was very meaningful to me, but I wanted to kind of just share a clip from it so you can and I can contextualize it a little bit. I'm going to share a little clip from our discussion with Tyler Reif about Feels by Animal Collective, which, if you remember, was our first in-person episode that we ever recorded, which is wild to think about. But there's something about that episode that I think is, when I went back and listened to it, I was just like, oh man, I was so excited. And you could tell Michael and I were just kind of giddy and having a ton of fun, getting to bounce off energy with Tyler. And we were in this little studio at St. Lawrence University where Michael has been working for the last several years, that we were able to use because he was on faculty there. And it was sort of momentous in that way that I couldn't believe how exciting it was to be with somebody in person talking about music and recording it. It sort of made it into a different thing. And having just done it via Zoom before that, we had gotten used to that sort of energy, that sort of cadence. But I guess it's a way of me saying I never take for granted the opportunities that we get to do this in person, because it really is a gift to just have that intentional time to discuss something that somebody loves with them. So why don't you give this a listen and see if you can pick up on all that happening in the background. And this is a little clip from our discussion with Tyler Reif about Feels by Animal Collective, another incredible album. Go check it out. Hi, I'm Tyler Esselman.
And I'm Michael Osinski.
And you are listening to This One Goes to 11.
This One Goes to 11! It's a podcast where normally from across the country we invite people to share an album with us that they believe is perfect.
So perfect, in fact, Michael. A 10 out of 10 just isn't good enough.
It isn't.
Just doesn't cut the mustard. I generally like cut the mustard as a phrase in general. And
yellow or brown or spicy?
I'm a spicy brown mustard guy.
That's why I love you.
That's why I love you too.
Tyler, this is a very special episode. Why is it so special?
It's really special because we're doing it in person together. I can touch you right now. I am touching you right now. And it's so cool. We've been doing this for over a year now, and it's great to do it in person now.
And kudos to the folks at the library, at the O&D Young Library at St. Lawrence University. We are recording live from their podcasting studio here, which is very exciting.
And we do have a really, this is an album that I have been familiar with for a long time that we're talking about today, and somebody that I just met for the first time, but seems like a really good guy. Who are we talking to today, Michael?
We are talking to Tyler Reif. Tyler Reif is a passionate geek across multiple registers. As an interdisciplinary scholar of cultural studies, critical rhetoric, and environmental communication, Tyler spends a great deal of time reading, writing, and facilitating the leftist awakening of his undergraduate students.
Yes.
Awesome. He is also intensely passionate about many forms of art, perhaps most especially music. A recovering hipster, Tyler works hard to not evaluate all of his listening experiences against a nostalgic yearning for 2000s indie rock, while still embracing any opportunity to reflect upon what makes his precious art rock, like the work of this band that we're going to hear of soon. Such an existentially liberating mode of sonic expression, he also consciously tries to expand his sonic horizons. I'm going to apologize in advance not in advance, after the fact, for screwing up your bio, because Tyler is worth more than that. And Tyler's here with us right now. Hello, Tyler.
Hey.
Sorry about that. A lot of words. And
I also think that might be right up there with some of the best bios that we've
right on. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. That was literature.
What did I say? Existentially liberating sonic something?
I believe so.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you for messing up those words.
No, but I feel like I wish I could do it justice, because this is, I will say, I haven't known you a year yet.
Yeah.
But this is. Yeah, this is my understanding of who you are.
Oh, right on.
It's an artistic statement. That's well, and you two are in academia, so it doesn't surprise me that you sort of have that in the chamber. Probably do a lot of that for applying for jobs and all that.
Oh, indeed. Cover letters.
Oh, yeah. How many do you have?
Cover letters?
Yeah, how many do you have
How many
saved?
forms? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Got to have a few ready, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if you can't tell how excited we are just from that little intro, I know I just gave you the beginning of the episode, but if you can't tell how excited we were, then I don't know what you're hearing, because that was, man, I was giddy. So much fun to do that episode in person with Tyler Reif, and man, Tyler actually is a great segue into this next kind of point I wanted to make about something I've really been reflecting on, is just how impressive all of our guests are. It's kind of crazy. How, the fierce intellect that is at play with so many of these people that we have had on. Tyler's a great example of this. And then that also got me thinking about this really wonderful experience I'm having of being able to bring guests on that Michael and I both have a relationship with. Largely are people from the theater school, but people who we have independent relationships with, but we are all connected through DePaul and that era of our lives. I feel like for me, it was just such an important time. Those relationships that I was forging were the ones that sort of defined my taste now. I was still, and we're all still malleable and ever changing in terms of our tastes and proclivities. But I just do think that it was kind of a crucible moment for the forming of my personality, and a lot of those people played a part in that. Classmates, collaborators, teachers, and that sort of leads me to what the next clip I wanted to introduce is from our discussion with Damien Kiley, who you might know if you listen to the episode on which he made his case for the perfection of Brandi Carlile. Yeah, we really liked that episode, and Brandi was a really great artist to dive a little deeper on. But it's so funny that Damien is this person in me and Michael's lives that he was for so long our teacher, the person who was imparting, his wisdom to us. And he's somebody that because of that dynamic and how excellent a teacher he was, for us during our time at DePaul, there's this deep respect and love for him and his creative process and his creative identity. So the experience of being able to have him as a guest sort of like come into our room and just be a guy with an album making his case for why it rules. And he also is the one of our guests that had sort of like a disclaimer at the beginning. I'm not going to clip this part of it, but he had a disclaimer at the beginning where he was basically like, I'm not a music person, which if you've listened to the pod, for us, it's like, yes, you are though. You must be. How could you not be? And Damon, and the portion that you're going to hear here in just a moment, is sort of like a perfect example of that, because he speaks about art in such an emotional, personal way that I know has been an influence on my, his mentality and how he shared it when he was our teacher is something that I know I have absorbed into my heart as well. So there's great comfort in that. There's great joy in that for me, and we had a great time talking to him. So take a listen to a little bit of our conversation with Damien Kiley, just for old time's sake. Okay?
And then, this, and Michael knows this, and probably told Tyler as well, like this story takes a bit of a tragic turn. It's a funky turn. So that little Christmas was this moment, this little bubble of respite in my life. Earlier in 2018, my brother was, Colin, who's my only brother, was diagnosed with colon cancer. And, he was 47. And they catch colon cancer all the time. And so it was like terrible, but we were going to make it. And in fact, like that Thanksgiving, he was a violist. He played with the Jacksonville Symphony for 20 years or something crazy. I don't know, something like that. And so he went back to work. Like he hadn't been able to work since, like, I don't remember, January or something like that, February. I don't remember exactly. And then he went back to work. But like pretty soon after Thanksgiving, he's like, I'm still in pain. And his doctors are like, you shouldn't be. I don't know why that would be. And so he was back in the hospital. He might have been in the hospital while we were in Hawaii. I'm not totally sure. Yeah, no, he was. That's true, because he spent Christmas Day in the hospital, but it was still unclear what was going on exactly, like what's going on. And then pretty soon after January, we turned into 2019. It was like, oh, this is done. Like they had just missed it. They didn't realize that they thought they caught it all, and it was like spreading everywhere. And so it was pretty rough. And I like got that phone. My mom went down, and there was a question of like, oh, he might have to go into hospice. And then my mom flew down, and she's like, oh yeah, if you want to see him, you're gonna fly down now. And so I did, and that was it. That was just like, I don't remember, 4 days, 5 days, or something like that. It was like over. And I'm not going to go to every twist and turn of that, but it was obviously horrible and terrible. And then here's the weird twist where we get to Brandi Carlile. Once again in a rental car, so I could play whatever I wanted, and I can't tell you exactly when and why. I don't actually remember when and why, but for some reason I started playing that album pretty much on repeat that entire week. And so that's all I listened to. And there was something about it that really like captured some of the things I was feeling. It allowed me to like be sad and angry in a way that it did that. I don't know. It allowed me to be sad and angry in a way that not hearing it didn't. And the night he died, first, I mean, it was horrible, obviously. And then his best friend had flown down and was there at the moment he died. And we went out to like the strangest, weirdest, dirtiest karaoke bar in Jacksonville, because it was the only thing that was open. And it was smoke, and you could still smoke cigarettes in there, which is weird. And we drank bad liquor, talked about him. We did not sing karaoke. Other people did. It was not awesome. And then we left, and then I played, I feel like it was The Joke, like honestly, like as loud as humanly possible. Drove into the parking lot of my hotel and cried my face off. And so I just had this strong connection to it. And then I cannot tell you when I made this decision or why I made this decision, but like right after that, I made a playlist that was every Brandi Carlile song to date. And I listened to that on shuffle. And so he died like, as I said before, my memory is not the best. January 17th, 19th, something like that. I have it. And I listened to exclusively that playlist until June.
Oh, wow.
Like it was a very interesting psychological moment where I tried to play other music and it felt wrong.
Damon's the best. I love Damon. Damon Kiley. What a guy. Thanks for everything you are. Thanks for everything you do. Great teacher and an even better man, for sure. So anyway, let's talk about the future, shall we? I promised you towards the beginning of the episode that I would talk to you a little bit about like kind of where this podcast is sitting for me personally in my life, and what I hope to kind of use it as an outlet for moving forward. The thing that I think I'm most grateful for on a personal level is just kind of the structure that it's given to my life in some ways. You know, like work is work. The things the activities, the art that you try to make, the relationships you try to maintain, they're all essential parts of the stew, if you will. But I think having this project is something that is, you know, not like, of course, we'd be happy if we made money off of it. And Michael and I talked about that in the 100th episode a little bit, the economic implications of doing this. But it's really just the idea of having something to lean on, having this ongoing collaboration with Michael is such a gift to me. It challenges me every week. It makes me think more critically. It gives me problems to solve every single week of my life, which is awesome, And I love that I have that, and it's something I really care about, because the work we do for money, at least in the case of me and Michael, it's something that we are always figuring out in a way to support our art, and so it has to occupy a very particular place in our life because of that. So I think it's a great laboratory for me and Michael, and I'm super grateful for it. And on that note, I'm going to share one more clip with you, which I think kind of speaks to where I see the next steps for me personally in this project. Is I'm going to share with you a little clip from our Back to One segment that I did. I did an episode right after we spoke to our friend Sarah Bell about Death Cab for Cutie and their album Codes and Keys. So I took the opportunity to do our little mini-sode installment with talking about the marathon that I ran at Big Sur last year, and then kind of connecting it to Narrow Stairs by Death Cab for Cutie. And it was this great, it kind of all came together. It came together really nicely, in my opinion. I'm really proud of, it's just like a little essay. And that's how I'm thinking about this short form stuff that I see online with people talking about music. They're just essays, and they're just people saying them into a microphone, right? That's radio, baby. But I was really proud of it because it felt like I was kind of picking at an idea and trying to turn it around and see what I could make of it, see what I could kind of conclusions I could draw from it, or just further questions I could pull from it. And that to me is the great creative process that has bloomed for me from working on this with Michael. And I hope to do more of that, and in a variety of different ways. And I have a few ideas, and I'm going to keep tinkering at it. And if you care, then if you're listening to this, you'll probably be listening to that. I hope you will. So more short form content, more stuff that's pre-written, stuff that is kind of scripted and maybe experimental in some ways, trying to figure out how to inject. We're always trying to figure out how to inject more of our voices into what we do. Granted, our full-on episodes are a little bit more about the person, right? That's the goal of our proper episodes, is to shine a light and celebrate a person that we care about or that we know and that we want to learn more about. But in these moments, we get a little chance to flex our own creativity, and I'm really excited by what that could mean moving into the next phase. But so here's a little clip from Back to One about Death Cab for Cutie, about Big Sur, about running, and about just being alive. So enjoy. See you on the other side. So let's bring it back to Death Cab, shall we? That song I mentioned from Narrow Stairs, not the one you just heard, but we're going to get there for you. It's called Bixby Canyon Bridge. It's the opening track, and so named for the most famous bridge on that very stretch of coast I ran along this last weekend. To me, it's a classically Death Cab sort of tune. In his trademark plaintive yet cuttingly clear voice, Gibbard spins a tale of searching for someone or something, some sort of hidden truth just out of view as he descends a ridge just beneath the eponymous bridge. We love to talk about how songs shimmer on this freaking podcast, don't we? Michael mentioned how Massive Attack shimmers darkly in his Back to One a few weeks ago, and Death Cab shimmers with the best of them. This one feels like pure beams of light, playing upon the rocks as the sun sets and leaves Ben to pick his way back to his car in the dark. And don't worry, Ben, we'll follow you into the dark. Won't we, dear listeners? Don't worry, I can hear you all groaning at that one. Bring it on. I need your groans. Like so many of Death Cab's most effective songs, that shimmer builds to a triumphant, haunting refrain as Ben laments the dream he just can't seem to see, no matter how far he might travel or how deep into the wilderness he might venture. And therein lies what I believe to be the core power of Mr. Gibbard and Death Cab. From the moment I became acquainted with this band, I knew there was something sort of fundamentally dramatic about them. It wasn't like they were the only band writing earnestly confessional guitar rock in the early aughts, far from it. But the delivery always felt like it walked that fine line between the utterly sincere and the cloyingly saccharine. I certainly related to that as an adolescent, though, and I kind of relate to it now. I'm just a corny-ass dude, what can I say? That liminal, vulnerable space that Death Cab has occupied for damn near 30 years now has come to define the soft boy stereotype. The sort of guy who is red as Brene Brown and has a turntable that sees at least occasional use, but implicit in that stereotype is also perhaps a lack of metal. That's mettle, metal. Or you might say guts. There's a conversation in here about what I think this particular brand of indie rock says about quote-unquote masculinity in this day and age, but I don't know, I actually think it might go deeper than gender. What I mean by that is when I listen to Death Cab, I hear a band that knows it wants to access something epic, universal, and emotional with its work. No doubt about that. I'm not unclear about the underlying creative motivation for them in the way I am about, say Maroon 5, if you happen to catch my piece about them on this very segment a few weeks ago. Ben and Death Cab are not afraid of exposing themselves, but they also sometimes end up expressing it in a way that feels just a bit too on the nose, if you know what I mean. And let me be clear. I'm saying this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'd venture to say that each and every one of us who has ever tried to write a poem or a song or a short story or, I don't know, start a music podcast has also ended up with something that felt maybe a bit too derivative or general or maybe even a little cringe. What's great is that I've found that the old adage about keeping at it with your creative endeavors, no matter what they are, with as good a heart as possible, does indeed eventually produce work that strikes that balance of sincerity. Open enough to mean something, while also not being too cringe. The sweet spot. And this band has stuck around long enough that they have successfully hit that spot more often than not. Perhaps you could call it Gibbard's razor. Well, I mean, I think we're in a pretty good place. I'm really happy with where we are as a podcast. Me and Michael both seem to have some juice in our batteries, and we're making moves to prepare for season 9. So stay tuned for that, and we'll have some stuff for you over the summer too. Like I said, I'm gonna try a few new things out. Always tinkering away. But before I sign off for the day, I did wanted to, as promised at the beginning, I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I've been listening to. Michael, in his 100 episode retro a couple weeks ago, he shared a little bit of what he's been listening to and kind of the reasons why. And he made a statement, quite accurately, I might say, about how the fact that I'm listening to 17 different albums at any given time and have a slow drip of ambient music also in my ears a lot. So Michael, you are correct that there are a few different things that I'm really jamming on these days. But I wanted to take a moment to mention in a very special way this album called Heavy Metal by a guy named Cameron Winter, who you might know from the band Geese. But this is his debut solo album, and he's like only 23 years old. It's actually insane. But this is a truly remarkable album. It technically didn't come out this year. It came out at the end of last year, like beginning of December, I think. And it's kind of hard to describe, and I almost don't want to say too much because I don't want you to go in with any like preconceived notions, if possible. That was this album just found me. I think maybe it might have been from the Freaks Only, from Travis Holcomb's Freaks Only show on KCRW out of Los Angeles, which I'm missing that public radio station a lot, by the way. Love that one. But yeah, you gotta maybe start with Love Takes Miles, which is one song that could be a great gateway drug to Cameron Winter. But really, the entire Heavy Metal album is it's singular, it's sublime, it's fresh, it's a breath of fresh air. And I cannot recommend listening to it highly enough. Go check it out. In addition to that, I'm also pretty high on Alice Phoebe Lou right now. I might have mentioned her on the pod before. She is a South African singer-songwriter based in Berlin that is making some really beautiful, warm guitar-focused music that has this sort of this sort of retro feel to it, kind of in the vein of Jessica Pratt, if you're familiar with Jessica Pratt as well, that her voice is ethereal, kind of warbling at moments, almost very organic sounding voice. And the production quality on these songs is just so slick, but not too slick, right? Like it feels like it has texture, but it feels so clean, and it hits the ear remarkably well. So go listen to her new EP, You and I, which I think is the precursor to a full album. I could be wrong about that, but I think there's a full LP coming out this year. So very, very high on her. Alice Phoebe Lou, You and I. And then I'll give special mention to forthcoming Tune Yards album. Heard a couple singles from that. I'm liking those. I'm always listening to some ambient music. Always got my Brian Eno going. I've been listening to a lot of Spoon lately, which is a band in the crossover section of the Venn diagram for me and Michael. Love that band, and their back catalog is strong and bears much re-listening. So I think you all could do with a little dose of Spoon in your life. Just trust me on that one. This is fun. I'm enjoying making a podcast for you all. I'm just going to do the thank yous again. I got to thank all of you out there who are listening. Anybody who presses play, you are a friend to us, because we really appreciate you bearing witness to this thing that we're doing, and it makes it really real for us, and gives us skin in the game, and we're very proud. We're very proud to be able to share something with you, and we hope that our community grows for sure. So big thank you to all of you. Big thank you to everybody who's kind of like helped us get started with this. The people who've done pilot episodes with us that have Damien Figueras with his music and his intro music that he's made for us over the years, the production bits of production that he's done out of the kindness of his heart, and Ray Schumann for helping us establish the current visual language of the pod. Beautiful stuff. Ray is a talented artist, a truly talented artist, and a wonderful friend, and we're grateful for you. And Michael, come on, man. I thank you so much for doing this with me. It is one of the great gifts of my life to be able to do this with you, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So let's keep doing it, buddy. Let's party. You're one of the best friends a guy could ask for. Thanks so much, guys. We will be seeing you very soon. Hope your summer starts off great, and stay tuned. Much love. Bye.